Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Frontal News Network. Today, we are going to be analyzing the story of Larry Nassar, how he was able to abuse so many gymnasts for such a long time. Now, this man, being a doctor for the national team, USA national team, and for Michigan State University, also a person who has been revered by parents and by everybody else around him, goes on to abuse, according to reports, 250 female gymnasts. Now, according to a testimony by one of the coaches, which is also available in the social media, he says that he has been sending hundreds of girls to this guy, Nassar. Can you believe this? And what is more shocking is the fact, even though the athletes complained about this man, everybody turned a blind eye. What's going on? Now, this report has been published by the prestigious Guardian, and let us see, what does it say? Larry Nassar was a wonderful doctor. Everybody said so. Can you believe this? The parents were told, the moment your daughter goes to this guy, your child is destined for greatness. Can you believe this? You want your daughter to become great at the cost of she losing her innocence. This is what one man says. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Countless complaints were given to Michigan State University because Michigan State University had employed him for decades. Can you believe that? If a qualified man who has got, or a woman who has got all the credentials, all the degrees, and all the research with her or with him, goes to Michigan State University for employment, they will say, no, we don't consider you to be qualified. You need to go do your postdoctoral. After you have finished your postdoctoral, you go to Michigan State University and ask them for a job. They will say, no, we still find you to be inadequate. Now here you have Michigan State University employing a terrible guy, a monster beyond words could describe, for decades. What is more alarming, in spite of many athletes complaining at this guy, none of the actions were initiated. In other words, no action was initiated. No action was initiated. Now, see what he says. He says that he was a wonderful doctor, and he writes it in a letter. Excuse me, what makes you to think that you're a wonderful doctor? What makes you to say that you're a wonderful doctor? Terrible. Now, this scandal of Larry Nassar is considered to be the worst scandal, the biggest sexual scandal in the history of mankind. Now, you can see he abused girls in London at 2012 Olympics. Would you believe this, people? You see, we were all kept under the bushel, under a blanket of darkness. None of these things were revealed, or none of these things was brought to light. Can you believe this? Over the course of a week-long sentence hearing, more than 150 women made impact statements in which they described lives crushed by trauma and shame. Exactly. Can you imagine? Young people who have great ambitions to succeed in life put themselves in so much pain, trouble, sacrifice, sweat, tears, and all for what? To succeed at a great stage of recognition at the Olympics. And here you have these predators, these monsters, these maggots, killing them even before they could rise up. What does it benefit when your innocence is crushed by predators, so-called guardians of the society, you know? Terrible. Michigan State University turns a blind eye. Can you imagine? The US gymnast responsible authorities simply ignored it. Simply ignored it. Can you believe that? Now, see this. The most obvious words this case sparks is how. How could this have ever been allowed to happen? How could USA Gymnastics have required hundreds of girls under its care to submit to mandatory treatment from a man who would give them pelvic exams in their hotel or dorm beds at night, only unsupervised? Can you believe this, ladies and gentlemen? Can you believe this? And how could the complaints about him have been dismissed for so long? Yes, decades. Everybody kept quiet. Every responsible individual kept quiet. Nobody wants to raise even their finger at this guy. As detailed by gold medalist Ali Raceman in her unforgettable, blistering testimony, it's easy to put out statements talking about how athlete care is highest priority. But USA Gymnastics have been saying that for years, and all the while, the nightmare was happening, Raceman said in the court. Can you believe this? Terrible. And I want you to draw your attention to this statement. There is no other sport, watch it, ladies and gentlemen, in which this could have happened but gymnastics, says Joanne Ryan, whose 1995 book, Little Girls in Pretty Boxes, about the physical and the psychological toll gymnastics takes on the girls and on young women, is still regarded as one of the seminal books about the sports. These girls are groomed from an incredibly young age to deny their own experience. Your knee hurts. You're being lazy. You're hungry. No, you're fat and greedy. They're all trained to doubt their own feelings. And that's why this could happen to over 150 of them. Terrible. Now, finally, I want to draw your attention to this important landslide judgment. Before that, okay, this is very important. Almost 2 decades later, Nassar was one of the women who testified about the abuse that she had suffered from Nassar. And the Carolus are named in a handful of lawsuits trying them to Nassar. USA Gymnastics had announced it will no longer use the Carolese ranch. Why would you want to take the athletes to a ranch? What for? That's the multi-million-dollar question that everybody would like to ask. You want to take them for what? When I wrote about the ranch in 1995, there was all this backlash from coaches saying, oh, these girls are just annoyed, they never won. Excuse me, so what? The very act of them participating is the biggest thing. See how they are talking? It's so sour grapes. It's so sad that it ended up being girls who brought Nassar to justice. Terrible. See, this is the way. Whenever you speak out, this is the way people react. Now, doctors, physiotherapists, physicians who are considered to be next to angels, who are there to save lives, are indulging in such evil. It's not only happening in the US, people. It is happening prevalently happening in the sports industry, according to reports. Now, the sports people, the young people who are getting into sports, they have great aspirations and they want to really come up and prove themselves. And so they are all the time at the mercy of these predators, the coaches, the physiotherapists, the team doctors. Terrible people. These fellows have to be brought to justice. There should be law enacted against all these physicians, all these sports doctors, to protect the future of these athletes And this is the respected judge, the great judge who championed the cause of women's rights, who championed the cause of all those athletes. This great judge pronounced that landslide judgment against the evil Nassar. This is the respected judge, Rosemary, who had brought justice to the cause of all the athletes, the young woman who suffered at the hands of this monster by name called Larry Nassar.
I was affected by Larry's intentions. I felt like I was listening to myself. I was affected by Larry. He did hurt me, and he hurt hundreds of other young women. He took away my innocence, and that is something I will never be able to get back. Something so precious that was created by God with the purest of intentions was completely devalued by him. I feel sick just thinking about it. The little girl he called his favorite Fierce 5 fan was in fact his victim. But thanks to the court, I will never be victimized by him again.